welcome back to Renpet Bath Beauty. We're taking a break and doing a Tuesday video. Told you guys that we were going to make Castile soap. Well, I totally skipped my mind that my hand soap is actually not 100% Castile. It is a Bastille recipe, which is coconut, olive, and castor. So I'm going to give you guys the recipe. There is nothing in my crock pot, and I am going to grab my stuff. If you'll give me just a second. I should have been way better prepared for this, so hold on. Okay, I think my coconut oil is the one on the top. I won't know till I open it. Yep. Oh no, that's my palm oil. My bad. Hold on. Switch. Oh my god, the coconut oil is heavy. I haven't had this coconut oil for too long. Ugh. Okay, so this, let me put my glasses on. This recipe calls for 4 ounces of coconut oil. It is primarily olive oil. There's a little castor, a little coconut in it. I don't know if you guys wear gloves when you measure your oils. I know some people who don't, and I just think it's icky. I don't like the way it feels on my skin. 4. Okay. Alrighty then. Let me just scrape this spoon off. I will just leave these buckets here. Let me grab my olive oil. Oh, I'm going to have to open a new olive oil. And my castor. There's a cord right here, so let me do my castor first, and then I'll open up another olive oil. So this is 2 ounces of castor. I always pour my castor pretty slowly because the weight can catch up on you because it's so thick. 85. 2. Woohoo! Okay, let me go grab another thing of olive. Hold on. Okay. Oh, I'm going to shut that door all the way. Otherwise, my cats will get in there. Let me wipe my hands off really quick because I got to use a big knife. So I have these big things of olive oil, and I have to punch a hole in the back of the can with usually a large knife. Okay, and this calls for 14 ounces of olive oil. It takes forever to unscrew these caps too. I get this from a restaurant. And obviously I'm going to have to, I let it come out the other side too, because, you know, that way I make sure I'm getting most of it, because I can't scrape the inside of this or stick it upside down, you know. This makes, it's 20 ounces of oils total, and it makes roughly 34 ounces of paste. So, okay, I've got 870, 11, 12, 13. Woo! Okay. Alright, so there we go. Now, I don't use distilled water. I use vegetable glycerin. Let me put this down there. So I'm going to measure out, I'm going to put the lid on this and measure out my vegetable glycerin. I will, however, alcohol this out. Which this will obviously be heated up. I need 11.7 ounces. And I try to pour this quite slowly as well. And we are going to go upstairs for a little while. We may have to come back down if it gets too dark up there. We'll see. I told my husband we may be going up and down, and he just kind of looked at me. Woo! There's 85, 1085. Come on. Now 7 more. 70.7. Yes, perfect. Okay. And now, because I'm an idiot, I have to go get my potassium hydroxide. Now remember, with liquid soap, you use potassium hydroxide. And this is a 2-day, sometimes 3-day ordeal, depending. Okay, that's going up. I just got to make sure there's not any water in there because I used this yesterday to do stuff. Hold on. So we need 3.90 ounces. Come on. There we go. Okay. 3.90. And I think that is all we need for right now. Okay. Let me just cover this up so I can take it upstairs. Now, I want to show you something in my batch book. And I do this with every batch that I do. I have page, like this is my dish detergent. This didn't take as long, but it's got all my notes on it. But look at my dish soap recipe. I mean, it's got all these notes on it. My liquid, the first shampoo I made, I mean, it's got notes upon notes, like times that I did things, my shower gel recipe, it's got all these notes, you know, it's, so, I mean, it's good to do that, especially when you're making something that takes a long period of time. Because then you can go back and look upon your notes and go, okay, well, this batch is acting different. What's going on here? And then you can troubleshoot, you can figure it out, and all of that kind of thing. Okay, so I'm going to take all of this upstairs, of course, including you, and we're going to let the oils melt. I will come back to you when the oils melt, and I explain to you what I do with the vegetable glycerin and the potassium hydroxide. Okay? All right. Okay, I just wanted to make sure you guys could see okay. Looks like the lighting is great. Hopefully it stays that way. It is 7:39 right now, and it doesn't start really getting dark until after 9:30. So dusk happens about 9 o'clock, so we'll see if my overhead kitchen light and maybe the light from the front of the camera will help. You're not going to see the whole process of me stirring it. This particular process right here is a 3.5 hour process. So you're probably not going to, you'll see bits and pieces of that. Obviously, this isn't going to be a 3.5 hour video, but I wanted to go through and show you measurements, tell you measurements, and of course I will put them in the description box below. There is not much coconut oil in here. It's only 4 ounces, so it shouldn't take long to melt. This is my brand new little crock pot, y'all. Got it for Christmas. I got a brand new big one, got a brand new little one. So my old ones can be used for wax because they are destroyed from I use them for my wax melts and candles and all that kind of stuff. So yay to my daughter and my daughter-in-law. I love them. And yeah, we'll get started as soon as this is melted. Bye-bye. Okay, guys. Boy, it certainly didn't take long for that to melt in my new crock pot. Okay. Now, I'm sure some of you are wondering why I use vegetable glycerin instead of distilled water. Well, this is a hand soap. I want it to keep moisture in, and vegetable glycerin is an excellent, my glasses are fogging up because I'm sweating, excellent humectant. But vegetable glycerin is really thick when it's cold, so we need to heat it up. I just stick mine in the microwave until it's extremely fluid and I'm able to mix my potassium hydroxide in it. So I'm going to do that really quick, put it in the microwave, and I'm going to put some gloves on so I can handle the potassium hydroxide. I will be mixing it off camera in the sink. I just feel safer that way. That's just me. Some people, they don't care, but it makes me feel safer. So I'm going to put this in there for 2 minutes. My vegetable glycerin is heated to 2.9 or 209.3. So I'm going to take my potassium hydroxide over to the sink and I'm going to mix it in there. It will take longer for the potassium hydroxide to mix in the vegetable glycerin. Okay, now that most of it is mixed in, I can bring it over here. Like I said, it takes longer for it to mix in. Let me check my temperature. 192. There we go. Now, sometimes it just takes a minute. And you're like, what the heck is going on here? And I've made this many times. I don't remember it. Usually I get it, to just about boiling point. I think that's what the problem is because now it's really putting off some heat. Yeah, we're at 292. Like I said, it just takes a minute for it to get mixed in. Okay, I'm going to take the lid off of this. I'll put it right there. And all of it is mixed in. I'm gonna very carefully dump that in there. There's a few flakes, no big deal. Those will be like I said, this is for personal use. So, okay, I'm gonna put some music on you while I music on for you while I stick blend. Where did that come from? Hold on. Oh, there's still frickin', okay, it doesn't matter. It's activated charcoal. I still have activated charcoal in my blender. Oh, and by the way, I like to get my hot process, because this is a hot process, like, technique. So I like to get it to a very thick trace. Okay, there we go. Alright. Now, it's not going to be this ucky brown color, like when it's, when we dilute it. Ugh. This is the worst part about making hot process soap, in my opinion. It's getting all the soap off your blender. Oh. Okay, so let me put this in the sink and some water. Now remember, making hot process soap, we don't want to what? Walk away. So I'm watching. I can't get any soap out of there. Well, let's just put some water in there. Oh look, it's a fountain. And this will stay, I mean, as thick as this is, it's definitely emulsified. This will stay pretty thick. Sometimes it separates on me, sometimes it does not. If it does separate on me, I will re-stick blend it. But now, once it's volcanoed, actually, I take that back. Potassium hydroxide doesn't usually volcano. I'm going to set my oven timer for 15 minutes. I'm going to shut this off. You guys probably can't even hear me. I'm going to set my oven timer for 15 minutes, and I will check on it. Stir it. You know I'm a big stirrer. Dang it, 15 minutes. My stove does this by tens thing if you hold the button down. Anyway, so yeah, where was I? I don't actually, the first half an hour I don't include in my 3-hour cook time, because this will take 3 hours. The first half an hour is where I evaluate what's going on with the paste, because eventually this will turn into paste. So that's what we're doing for this first 15 minutes. So I will be back once my oven timer goes off. Okay, my first 15 minutes. Let's see how she's doing. I need to get a hot pad because the edge of this is going to be really, really, really hot. Now, see, I don't like how thin that's gotten. So I will be re-stick blending. And I don't need to put any music on. I'll just, you know, cut it out. Okay, so because of, so that's a, very good example of why I don't start my cook time until a half an hour into what would, you know, I guess most people would consider cook time, because if there's something I don't like about the batter, like, you know, you just saw, it was a little too thin for my taste, Now we're back up to that thicker consistency. It did not separate, but it just was a little bit too thin for my taste. Now this will never get thick like a normal hot process because of the oils I use and the vegetable glycerin. So it will never get that thick until it is completely cooked and gelled. And we'll go over that part, you know, when we get there. So, all right, I'm going to set my timer for another 15 minutes. I'll see you then. Bye. Okay, guys, after I stir this, this is my second 15 minutes. We are going to have to take it downstairs. It's not dark by any means outside, but the light isn't coming into the window the way that it was. I mean, these counters are like an eggshell, and when I turn the light over the sink on, it turns them a really bad yellow color, almost like downstairs. So, all right, see what we have on our second 15 minutes. There we go. I see a little bit of separation, which is normal. I don't think it needs to be stick blended, but I am going to do it. And then we shall take it downstairs and check it every 30 minutes for 3 hours. I will only bring you back for the first half an hour and the last half an hour. Okay? With that, sorry, that was loud. So let me stick blend this separation just a little bit. Okay, so that should be the last time I have to stick blend it. I still will clean Judy off and make sure she's nice and clean just in case. But usually past the first 30 minutes, I don't really have to worry about it. The separation can be stirred in. So this is what we have so far. And yeah, we will take it downstairs and go half an hour at a time. I will see you in a half an hour. Bye-bye. First half an hour, and I got to put my gloves on. I have to remember that the lye is still active in this soap until it is gelled, which will be after that 3 hour period. Ugh, my spatula is stuck. Oh, look at that. Let me grab a hot pad. Look how liquid that is. Which is fine. You'll see what a nice little brick it becomes once it's fully cooked. Okay. So I'm not going to bring you back until the last 30 minutes. Actually, you know what? I'll bring you back when I'm going to turn off my crock pot. So 2.5 hours from now. Woo! I'll bring you back. So that way you can see what it looks like, okay? Okay, guys. Sorry. When I uploaded the footage from my camera to my computer, I realized that the last portion that I recorded was not there. So, this is where we are now. This is our liquid soap paste. Let me see if I can get a piece out of here. Paste is very, very, very hard. So this is our paste, okay? And there are several things you can do with paste. One is you can put it in an airtight container when I do that, I have a vacuum sealer, so I make sure that everything is airtight. I do not keep it in the fridge, although it can stay good. I think it's up to 6 months. You'll have to check me on that one if you keep it in the fridge. But in the freezer, you know, it lasts way longer. However, with my hand soap and my dish soap, I turn all of the paste into liquid soap. Reason being, my hands. I wash my hands like a million times a day. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I wash my hands. It's ridiculous. And we go through it really fast. So the first thing you have to do once your paste is created, and I'm going to move this out of the way, is you have to weigh it. Because what we're going to do is we're going to dilute this paste with distilled water. Okay, there we go. We're going to dilute this with distilled water. I'm going to take this out of here for right now anyway. Ugh. And you need a good old sturdy wooden spoon for this part. And you can touch it. It's gelled soap, so it is actually soap. See, look at how beautiful. Can you see that see-through color? You probably can with the lighting. It's absolutely gorgeous. The color of it. I just have a little bit more to get out. As far as chunks go. Okay. Usually it makes about 36 to 34 ounces of paste. Hold on. I'll bring you back when I get this all scraped out. Okay, we have 32.7 ounces, so basically 33 ounces, because there's still some in there, so we're talking 33 ounces. So what I'm going to do, me personally, not everybody does this, but me personally, I like to remelt this paste before I add my dilution water. Sorry, my thing fell down while I was scraping. So I am going to put this back in the bowl. Yeah, this bucket was pretty much just useless. Got a bowl dirty for nothing because I had to weigh it. You should always weigh your paste, because depending on what your dilution rate is will depend on, you know, it depends on how much it weighs. So I dilute this particular one at a 1-to-1 ratio. So 33 ounces of paste, and when the time comes, I will boil, and I boil it first so that way I don't have to wait as long. Also the reason why I heat the paste back up. And I do put it on high. I just watch it. So doing it on high will help the dilution go faster and everything else. So crock pot goes on high, and we'll come back in various stages of this melting, because it's pretty much going to turn back into the same thing it was, but we will definitely come back when I add the water. Okay? Bye. Okay guys, now that this is starting to melt some, see how it's starting to melt? The more that you break this up, I need this. The more that you break these big clumps up, the better. Not just because it will melt faster in the pot, but because it will melt faster once you add the water. So I will continually come in here and break some of these clumps up as much as possible. And when I am ready to get to the dilution phase, I'll come back for you guys, okay? Okay, my paste is almost completely melted, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my distilled water, and I am going to pour it in here, 33 ounces. Come on. One more ounce. Okay. 1 over. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We are going to boil this. Oh, wrong one. I'm going to boil this on the stove. And once it's to a boil, and like I said, you don't have to boil it. I do it because it speeds up the process of it melting. So yeah, and it's a 1-to-1 ratio. So we have 33 ounces of paste and 33 ounces of water. Now if okay, you know what, we'll get into that once we get into it, when I get into the process. And you'll have to excuse me, I am running the washer, so it might get loud at one point. I don't know. If it's spinning and I need to talk to you, it's probably going to be loud. But my husband is going on his first leg of his fishing trip, so I got to clean clothes. So anyway, I'll boil this water and come back. Oh, and by the way, as far as boiling the water, if there is loss to the ounces of water, don't worry about it. I mean, unless you've let it boil down and there's 8 ounces, you know, missing to what your target is. Like with my dish soap, I don't do a 1-to-1 ratio. I do a 1 to 1.5 ratio. So I do, you know, 1.5 times water to there is paste. But, you know, a few, you know, 0.3, 0.8, it does, you know, up to an ounce is fine. So I just had to add that. So I'm going to pour my water in here. And when I stir this, it's going to look quite thin because the viscosity of this, before it cools down, will appear thin. It's just the nature of liquid soap. So what we have to do is we have to keep this on high, and we have to let this paste melt into our water. Oh, can't get my spatula off there. So like I said, continue to keep it on high. This part, I think, is the longest part. Sometimes this can take just hours and hours and hours, and it can be quite, like, to the point when I first started making liquid soap, like the first time I made this, I was like, oh my god, please, this is gonna be done, because I started it rather late in the evening, and I ended up just turning my crock pot on keep warm overnight. But yeah, so this is gonna take a little bit longer to get all of this melted. I'll bring you back in stages as it gets more and more melted. So alrighty then, and like I said, if you're gonna make this, just be patient. I know my washer is spinning, so sorry, but I don't know if you can see, there's bubbles coming up from the lid of my, from underneath the lid of my crock pot. That's great. So I'm just gonna break these chunks up again as much as possible. There's some big, it's like almost all together here still. Like I said, this portion of it can take a really, really long time. But it's totally worth it in the end. You know, I have this incredible hand soap that's not only gentle on my hands and cleans them, but I have that vegetable glycerin as a fantastic humectant, and it works perfectly. It's thick enough that it's definitely soap, if that makes sense. Boy, my washer is going. Hold on, I'm gonna pause you and I'll finish my thought when my washer's done taking off. I moved the camera so the sun from the window wasn't quite on there. But anyway, what I was saying was this is, as I said, my hand soap, and it is thick enough that it, feels like soap, but it is also thin enough to go through my pumps. Mr. J, you're fine. My cat is making himself known. So, because I put this in all the pumps in my house. So we're gonna keep on keeping on and let it melt. I'm gonna set my timer for an hour and come back to it. And depending on the change, I will bring you back or not. I know this is kind of a long video and I apologize, but it gets us a chance to visit, because I do have exciting news that I will share with you in our next little segment. So I'll see you then. Bye. Okay, we had to switch crock pots because I don't know what's the matter with me. I lost track of time. My grandkids got home from school and it was just a big mess. When I came over, I rounded I have like an L-shaped counter, a bar and then a counter, and I rounded it and I just saw soap pouring out of my little crock pot, and it was paste. It wasn't like, liquid. So I scooped all that paste back up, reweighed it, and re-put water in it, and it has been in my big crock pot ever since. Okay, so it's almost done melting. I only have a few, I hope you can see, I have a few chunks like this left in there, and I know it looks, like I said before, it always looks pretty liquid. This, has been on high. I have officially turned it on low as of right before I turn the camera on. So I'm actually gonna turn it off at this point, because now that I've gone through it, there's not very many at all, and just the heat from speak English, Sulin, from having been on, it should melt the rest of that. And if I have to, because I'll have to let it completely cool down overnight in order to check the viscosity. Now, viscosity is an important thing because you don't want it to, I don't know why I just stuck this back in here. You don't want it too thin and you don't want it too thick, especially for a hand soap. So, yeah. But tomorrow we'll talk about viscosity. If it's still light out as this is cooling down and the viscosity is getting thicker, I'll show you, but most likely it will be tomorrow. So, alright guys, I will see you probably tomorrow. Bye. Okay, just want to show you really quick that we are completely melted. There's no more chunks in here. I've had this on low for a while. So I'm going to turn it off and I am going to let it cool off, and we will reassess tomorrow. Once it's completely cooled off, however, I will cover it with saran wrap overnight. Look, I found some scraping, so maybe we might have to add more water to it. I hope not, because I really don't want this video to be an hour long. All right, I will see you guys tomorrow. Oh, and I will tell you what exciting news I had. I'll tell you that tomorrow too. All right, bye guys. Ooh, gonna get my spatula. Let's see what kind of consistency we have here. Because depending on, oh, hold on one second. I can take this out for a second. Can you guys still see? Yeah. Because this will depend on whether or not we need to make a 20% salt solution. And I will explain that to you whether we need it or not. Oh, come on. Okay. Let's see what our viscosity is. Oh, yeah, our viscosity is too thin. See? It's too thin. So what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to have to put this back in the crock pot, and we're going to do a 20% salt solution. What that means is I'm going to have to add, I boil it until the salt is done. Okay, shwoo, my brain is going a million miles an hour right now. My husband left for his fishing trip 4 o'clock this morning, but I'm going to turn this back on high, but I'm going to add it. What I do is it's 20% salt, and then how much water it is. I want to add as little water as possible because this is already thin in viscosity, so you know it's a thinner thing. So I'm probably going to add only about 3 more ounces of water. I'll do the math on that, what 20% of 3 ounces is, and that's how much salt I will boil into the water so it is totally dissolved. The other thing you can thicken your soap with is borax. I've done it before in my dish detergent. I don't like to do it in this particular recipe because this is for hand soap, and borax can be a little bit more harsh on the hands. So I'm gonna get this warmed up. I'm not gonna heat it to the point where it's hot because I don't want to have the cooling process be too long after I add the salt solution, but I do want it warm. So I'm going to start it off on high just to get that heat. I will stir it frequently in order to disperse the heat. I have my temperature gun that, you know, I wanted at least 100 degrees. Well, maybe 80 would be okay. I'll add the first salt solution at 80 degrees, and I'll come back and I'll show you that. But yeah, and please still use distilled water with your salt solution. So I will be back when that salt solution is done, and I'll show you. All right. Well, and this is heated. All right, bye. We're gonna add our 20% salt solution, and you may have to do this a couple of times. It just depends. I did not check the temperature on my soap, but it is definitely warm. Whew, I have to wash my hands with that now. And see how it changes the color of it a little bit? Don't worry about that color change. It will go back to its beautiful clear color, as you can see it is doing. I'm going to leave that out in case I have to do it again. And already the viscosity is thicker. So this is a thing where you just keep checking the viscosity as it cools down, which I would imagine that I might have to do this twice, which, like I said, is not unusual. I've had to do it 4 times one time, and because every time you do this, it doesn't always turn out the same. So that's all right. He can talk. I mean, it's not a big deal. My daughter-in-law and grandson came home, so throughout this process, after she leaves for work, if I'm still making this beautiful video for you, you'll probably hear him. Not a problem, right, Alex?
He's got a mouthful of food.
Oh, he's got a mouthful of food. Yeah, he's eating his breakfast. It's early in the morning. Okay, so I'm gonna let this sit and see what the viscosity is when it heats up or when it cools down. I'm sorry. And the heating up, cooling down process, you don't like if I have to do this again after this is cooled down, I won't heat it up as high, because that stirred in very quickly and I was able to stick my finger in that soap without it being too hot. So, alright, let's see how that does. Okay, second time adding salt solution. Now there's going to be, I have little like pieces of soap in here because I was using the same spatula, but we're going to put this in here again. And I shouldn't need to do this again. I'm going to stir it until that color disappears. I didn't reheat this, but as you can see, it's starting to disappear. It's getting quite thick now. The viscosity is, I mean, it's difficult for me to actually move this spatula through here. So by the time this cools all the way off, I'm going to have my perfect viscosity. Yay! Like I said, usually I have to do it twice. So right here we have this, I don't know if you guys can see, this beautiful viscosity. Let me bring you guys in closer so you can see it. Woo, 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 that's too close, too close. No, stop, stop, stop. Oh my God, I'm having issues. Well, whatever. We'll do it that close. See, we have that beautiful, thicker viscosity. Look at that. That looks so cool. Anyway, so yeah, and then what I do with it is I have a funnel and I have a container. It's an old tea container. You guys know I'm fond of old tea containers. My husband drinks quite a bit of sweet tea, and I put it in there and use it. I go through liquid soap quite fast. You can fragrance this. I do not. It just smells like soap. So I don't have an issue with that, but like I said, if you wanted to fragrance it, you could. A lot of people will add preservative to their liquid soap. I do not, only because I go through it so fast. Like I said, I mean, I wash my hands so many times a day, it's not even funny. I have like old lady hands because I wash my hands so much. So that's it. That's hand soap. And again, I'm going to put the recipe in the description box. And hopefully, when y'all make it, or if you make it, you'll leave me some comments and let me know how you like it. So I'll see you guys.